Hope is more than mere wishing. It involves a stance and a commitment that gives a shape to our choices and our character. Rebecca DeYoung couldn't have known how valuable those words would become, or the article, Practicing Hope, in which they are found, when she brought them to the Calvin Seminary program over 4 years ago. At the time, I did not understand the true meaning of hope outside of superficial wishing. I was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. What could I truly hope for? What kind of life could I lead in prison? Sure, I knew about Jesus and heaven, but they were still distant concepts that I really couldn't fully grasp. Like doubting Thomas, I needed something tangible, something now to believe in. Shortly after Rebecca's visit, she was diagnosed with cancer. Her battle was a testament and practical demonstration of true hope. A hope as a daily practice, an act of commitment, and a test of character. So whenever I start to doubt or lose hope, I remember the example she set with her courageous victory over cancer, and I read the article over, all 30 pages. With that, I want to thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart for participating and showing up to this conference today. You embody the theme of this conference, hope and hospitality, radical hospitality. And just as Rebecca rekindled hope for me, today you have sown the seed of hope for many. But our work is not done. We need to water and nurture that seed. Cornelius Plantinga Jr., in Engaging God's World, said, "Without costly action, hope can soften into sentimentality. With costly action, hope may harden into reality." And the path of costly action is radical hospitality, which my brothers will now talk about.
There's a wonderful word of encouragement written to believers which says, "Let mutual love endure. Do not neglect hospitality, for through it some have unknowingly entertained messengers of God. Remember them that are in bonds as being bound with them, and those that suffer adversity as suffering yourselves. For we are all of one communal body, the body of Christ." Hebrews chapter 13, verses 1 through 3.
This divinely inspired text gives encouragement to those attempting to walk in faith, and moral instruction for those who have the courage and will to make this world a better place. With that in mind, the Calvin Prison Initiative would like to present the concept of radical hospitality.
Radical hospitality is an extreme generosity of spirit that is contrary to conventional social expectations. Why radical hospitality?
Because as a society, we need something all-encompassing, something extreme and yet fundamental. Radical hospitality, therefore, is the absolute commitment to bring about community-wide redemption through restorative justice.
It's more extreme than being cordial or receptive of others, as it must seek to foster social justice in a way that restores balance and embraces all members of the community, even the outcasts. Radical hospitality is fundamental in that restorative justice is not a new concept.
But it requires a return to the ancient practices and cultures around the world, including that of Christianity. And lastly, if we want social justice and community-wide restoration, radical hospitality must be so all-encompassing that everyone involved must change for it and be changed by it.
The claim that everyone involved must change for it and be changed by it may be a lofty assertion. However, we think that everyone involved in this conference bears witness to the idea that such a change is needed.
Mother Teresa once remarked that we need to keep in mind that our community is not composed of those who are already saints, but of those who are trying to become saints.
Guys like us just have a little more work to do than others. Nevertheless, if one wants community-wide restoration, then society is going to have to allow for the redemption of the incarcerated.
Furthermore, any societal change is going to have to begin with an open and honest dialogue, because, as Dr. David Rylesdam once asserted, change always starts with the truth.
And the truth is that if society is interested in our redemption, if society is interested in our help in reaching individuals that others cannot, then we're going to need assistance in going from sinner to saint. And this process begins with educational and vocational training.
Why should society concern itself with educational and vocational training of the incarcerated? Because the Get Tough on Crime approach has failed.
Getting tough on crime has led to a 2/3 lifetime recidivism rate for offenders and consumes 1 out of every $5 of the state's budget. That's an epic failure, and to continue it would be criminal.
Instead, by addressing the corrections problem with radical hospitality, that is something contrary to conventional social expectations. One can respond in loving kindness to educate prisoners and simultaneously reduce the budget. The RAND Corporation's meta-analysis indicates that education reduces recidivism by 43% and is less than half the cost of reincarcerating offenders.
Thus, education prevents crime and saves money, but the benefits don't end there, and to this we speak from experience. As students in the Calvin Prison Initiative, we are quite literally the face of post-secondary correctional education in America, and we can attest to its benefits.
This education I'm receiving because of Calvin College is important to me because it has taken my mindset from one of blaming others, not taking responsibility, and being fearful, to one of healing, productivity, and growth. I now have hope that I can right some of the wrongs, heal some of the wounds, and give closure to my victims. I now feel I have the tools to give back instead of taking.
I believe that education is a building block for those who seek to engage in it. Personally, my effort to improve myself academically has not only affected me, but also the relationship that I once had between my family and I. In the past, not being able to appropriately communicate with them led to frustration and bitter arguments. This weakening and destroying our family bonds. Today, the education being provided through the CPI program is teaching us to better communicate with others. The interaction with professors and peers serve as a pattern which can help us improve in rebuilding our relationship with our family. This leading to better family support. This in turn could lead to a more successful integration into society upon our release.
The CPI program has given me the opportunity to better myself. The more I learn about God and the world in which I live, the more my love for God and my willingness to help others grows. Before college, the direction in which I was headed was unclear. My future was uncertain and my hope was shattered. But the CPI program restored my broken hope and gave me a positive and promising future in which to look forward. Because of education, I now have purpose, and I will use my gifts to be a better leader and serve those within my community.
We realize that educating us is a lot to ask for, but we say to you, society, we've already been punished and we're becoming better people for it. That was the point all along, wasn't it? Surely it wasn't permanent condemnation, was it?
Radical hospitality forgoes condemnation and instead focuses on reconciliation. Reconciliation, in the instance of the incarcerated, requires the public to allow for our redemption. We wouldn't say that it's deserved, but rather is a much needed grace.
Society struggles to forgive us, and we understand this because sometimes we struggle to forgive ourselves. We know that we've fallen short in the past. We know that we've let our loved ones and our communities down. We know that we can never change the past, and we cannot undo the things that we have done.
But if society allows, we know we can go forward, apologizing for what we've done, making right what we can, humbly changing our behavior, and giving service to the community as restitution. We want to be the face of restorative justice in Michigan.
And we are ready to perform the self-expending, other-affirming service that our communities need. We are ready to do our part for social justice and community-wide redemption. However, once again, we need the public's assistance because we cannot do it without you.
We need you because we need you to give us another chance. It's not something we deserve or feel entitled to. However, according to author Bryan Stevenson, mercy is most empowering, liberating, and transformative when it is directed at the undeserving. The people who haven't earned it, who haven't even sought it, are the most meaningful recipients of our compassion.
Despite our negative stigma of being hardened criminals, we're just people, broken people. We know we've harmed people. We know we've damaged the community. We want to be held accountable. We want to repair what we've done. But most importantly, We want to change how you view us.
For most of us, that hardened criminal exterior that some of you have witnessed is nothing more than a facade. It's a wall, a shield, built out of necessity to protect ourselves from the hurt of rejection.
We're not incapable of sympathy or empathy. In fact, the biggest difference between us is that you'll probably never know what it's like to fall so short in life. To fall short of every dream, hope, desire, goal, and expectation of those you care about. To fall so short that you wonder how God could ever accept you. That is our biggest difference.
If you give us a chance, if you extend to us a radical hospitality, we'll demonstrate our interest in both victim offender, conferencing, and community reintegration programming, just as God lovingly made space for creation to exist.
We need you out of loving kindness to make room for us to exist within your communities. And we believe that restorative justice is a way that we can go forward together. Some of us have already experienced a taste of it, and most others long for it.
From the time I was a young boy, my victim's mother believed in me and valued me more than I did myself. After I was convicted of taking the life of her son, this woman continued to believe that I was redeemable. At the worst time of her life, my victim's mother showed up in court and extended her love and forgiveness to me, believing that I was so much more than a murderer. It was her belief in my ability and to be redeemed, and her participation in that process that led me to accept God's forgiveness and begin to change into the man she always believed that I can be. Without the grace and forgiveness of a woman who had every right to hate me, I may still be angry, hurt, and a selfish person that I used to be.
One day I received a letter from the niece of my victim, a young man whose life was taken by the greedy acts of my selfish hand. During this time, I was not fully conscious of the magnitude of damage that I have caused to him and his family. I read her letter, which expressed the hatred for what I had did to her uncle and how I damaged and ruined her life. Her letter altered my life forever, searing the knowledge of her loss into my heart and mind. Although I threw the letter out after reading it, I had never been the same, and I will never forget that day. Thereafter, my life was changed.
I participated in a program called Celebrate Recovery. Through a self-inventory in this program, I was broken over the tremendous impact my crime had on my victim and many others. I began to long for a way to help heal the wounds that I'd caused. If I could participate in a mediation process that would help restore wholeness to my victim, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Helping to heal the harms I caused would also have a major impact on my own life.
If we want the community-wide redemption that comes with restorative justice, then we need to embrace radical hospitality. That extreme generosity of spirit that is contrary to the conventional social expectations.
We need to let mutual love endure. We cannot neglect radical hospitality, for through it, some have unknowingly entertained the messengers of God. We need to remember them, that they are in bonds, as being in bond with them and those which suffer adversity. And suffering with them ourselves, we are all of one communal body, the body of Christ. Hebrews chapter 13.
Nicholas Walterstorff once remarked that God's goodness is meant to find its answer in gratitude. And with that in mind, we would like to express our gratitude for God's goodness in allowing us this opportunity, and to all of you for your work and interest in the restorative approach to social justice. Thank you.